Hey there guys, it's Silver, and today I figure we're going to do something very different for the channel. We are going to have a completely unscripted and somewhat low quality rant about the release of the recent Terminator Dark Fate movie. Because I love the Terminator franchise, and from what I have heard they have done some very, very bad things to it. So, where to begin? Oh yes, spoilers for Terminator 1, Terminator 2, and Terminator Dark Fate. If you don't want to be spoiled, leave now, because for the next 5 minutes I'm going to be making some very key points towards one big issue in the Dark Fate movie, and its implications toward the larger Terminator timeline. I'll be brief and get straight to the point. In Terminator Dark Fate, they kill John Connor in the first sort of 5-10 minutes of the movie. Now, I haven't gone to watch this movie, because thankfully, the guys over at World Class Bullshitters, big thanks to Jeff, Kendo Slice, and Dion, for having this discussion on their most recent podcast. But yes, they kill John Connor in the first 5 minutes of Dark Fate, and they pretty much imply from that point onward that he is no longer the leader of the human resistance and the saviour of mankind. Now for me, that causes a very, very big issue, because if you'll remember rightly, they sent a Terminator back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor so that John Connor would never be conceived and born, because Skynet was completely 100% sure that she was the mother of the human resistance leader. And likewise, they sent a Terminator back to 1995 to kill John Connor when he was only 10 years old, to prevent him from becoming the leader of the human resistance. Now, by killing John Connor, essentially 3 years after the events of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, it causes a major issue. Because essentially, for clarity's purpose, what the movie does is skips forward 3 years to 1998, kills John Connor right near the beginning, and then skips forward over 20 years. But by doing this, there is a problem caused. And do you know what that is? One, if John Connor was killed in 1998, and keep in mind that Dark Fate is a canonical sequel to Terminator 2, so the events set before it are still considered canon. So yes, if he was killed in 1998, that means he would never have been able to send a Terminator back in time to 1995 to begin with, to protect his past self, because he died in 1998. So he never became the leader of the human resistance. And it also invalidates the entire point of them sending a T-800 back to 1984 to kill off Linda Hamilton's character, because she never became the mother of the leader of the human resistance. So it invalidates the entirety of the Terminator timeline set before Dark Fate, because, as I just said, she was never going to become the woman who mothered the leader of the human resistance, and the human resistance leader, who was meant to be John Connor, never came to pass in the canonical sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So they've scrubbed the existence of everything after Terminator 2, so Terminator 3, Salvation, those movies, by doing this to begin with, and then they've completely retconned and destroyed the events of essentially the two movies before it by invalidating the very existence of the person who was, meant to be killed and or protected in the prior movies in one form or another. So, I will not be watching this movie, because I love Terminator 1, Terminator 2, and I also found Terminator 3 to be not great, but passable. It was passable at best. And that said, I have a specifically large bias towards the first two movies, because, well, I'll be honest, nostalgia. Really, I will own my nostalgia and appreciation for the powerful storytelling that takes place in the first two movies. And I also have some fond memories of watching them with my father as a very young kid, who was way too young to watch them at the time, to the point where people on this channel, it's become a running joke where they've asked me how old I am, and the hint I have given them is that I'm born after Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But that doesn't mean, by any stretch of the imagination, that because I was born after that movie, that I could not appreciate it and the one that came before it. Very few things can be considered masterful storytelling, and I'm usually in a movie for storytelling. It doesn't have to have guns blazing action, but powerful storytelling. And there was a strong message in terms of the potential for the future not being set, as was so often said, and the rise of technology, and all those kind of things, and the compelling story of Sarah Connor's development from a shy, meek waitress to a badass, ass-kicking woman who was trying her best to protect her son in the wake of a crazy situation. So yeah, I personally will not be going to see this movie, as it fundamentally unravels and unhinges everything that Terminator stands for, in my opinion. Now, I'm not one to call for boycotts. There are very few movies I have ever considered boycotting. In fact, the only movie I have actively engaged in a boycott of was Captain Marvel, and I took part in the Alita Challenge instead, because Alita Battle Angel was an awesome movie. That said, guys, if you liked this little discussion point of mine, this completely unscripted rant about a movie and its implications on the wider timeline with which it precedes and follows, then I would really appreciate it if you came back for more or left a comment. And we might do some more of these later on, because I'm a huge movie fan. I love going to the cinema. Nothing beats the big screen experience. But yeah, just in short, you see my point, right? If John Connor is going to die at age 13, how is he able to send a Terminator back to begin with? And why did Skynet even bother to send one back to 1984? Invalidates the whole point. So yeah, I have been Silver, your host for this little rant, so to speak. And what I will do is keep an eye on this video. If people enjoy it, I may well do more in future. So feel free to leave a like, comment, or sub if you'd be interested in seeing more of this stuff. I'm primarily a gaming channel, but I do occasionally do other stuff every now and again, and my viewers said they would be interested in a discussion video, so I figured this one would base itself on a movie. And yeah, I reckon it's time that I go. I'll see you guys later, and though I'm not going to advocate for any boycotts, seriously think carefully about giving Dark Fate, Terminator Dark Fate, your money. See you around, guys, and thank you. Here's hoping that the movies we love are left alone in future. Hoping, he says naively.